Welcome to Higher Education Advocates Podcast. This podcast is about supporting students and families as they navigate through the post-secondary complexities of college. From time to time, I will touch base on current events. Expect to hear jam-packed information that includes strategies and tips. The goal is to empower families and help them make informed decisions. Expect to hear from higher education professionals, HR professionals, tax pros, mental health professionals, financial aid administrators, students, parents, plus more. My name is Teresa Harris, and I'm a college financial aid expert. I'm also the founder and owner of Scholarship Momma. I have a master's in higher education, and I am an alum of Robert Morris University in Chicago. I'm a wife, mom, and grandmother. My heart is for our youth, but the information I'm sharing is relevant for all age groups. When it comes to college, my experience as an adult student was fantastic. I was eager to learn and ready to start a new career, and the only way I could pay for college was to borrow loans. One thing I failed to realize is the impact student loans would have on my future. I borrowed thousands of dollars during my undergraduate career, and as time went on, the amount I owed ballooned. As of this recording, I'm still paying off student loans, and I completed college years ago. For the record, I don't have anything against student loans, but I do believe in responsible borrowing, which is something I didn't do. As for the podcast, expect to hear from me on a bi-weekly basis. This podcast is available on Anchor FM and Scholarship Momma YouTube channel. For more information, check out my website, www.scholarshipmomma.com. Hey friends, so glad you can join me. This is Teresa Harris, aka Scholarship Momma, and welcome to Higher Education Advocates Podcast. I think everyone can benefit from today's episode with Chris. A little bit about Chris. He is a Marine Corps veteran, a Purdue University alum, and a native of Indiana. Chris, jump in here and tell us more about you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the introduction. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I could go on and on, but I'll tell you what I do now and why I'm even here. So what I do now is I provide students with the leadership traits and principles that they need now so that they don't become horrible bosses later. Because the question that I ask a lot of people, whether it's seasoned professionals at an organization or students on campus, I say, please raise your hand if you've ever had a horrible boss. And I imagine you're raising your hand. I am too. Everybody raises their hand. And it doesn't need to be that way because we all know how miserable a horrible boss can make your life. And if that is the norm in our society, something needs to change. So I am trying to change that future so that there's a world where my little 1.5-year-old can grow up into where hopefully we have less horrible bosses in the world. So that's what I'm trying to do. And that's why I'm here to speak with you today. And thank you for having me again.
Well, thank you. Before we get started, though, the first thing I want to say is I want to thank you for your service to our country. I want to thank all the veterans for all of those who serve. I am grateful for you all putting your life on the line for us for liberties. And so thank you so much.
Thank you for your support.
So today we're in for a treat with Chris. We're going to talk about self-care. I don't want to make any assumptions, so I want Chris to define self-care. Can you define self-care for us?
Sure, absolutely. And it's very simple. I mean, you can search online and find long blog posts about what it is and what it isn't. But self-care is just the practice and the action of preserving your own health. Preserving your health. And I say that word preserve specifically because a lot of what we don't do in our society, in American society, is focus on the preventative maintenance for our own bodies. And our body is our physical health, our mental health, and our spiritual health. We need to do preventative maintenance the same way that we do preventative maintenance on our car if we want to keep it a long time. If we want to keep our bodies for a long time, we need to do preventative maintenance on that. So So it's the practice and the action of preserving your own health.
I like that. The practice and the action.
Yes.
Really struggle with. This is going to be an exciting podcast today. So now that we know the definition of self-care, what routine, if any, do you suggest for students and student leaders so they can implement to maintain self-care?
Absolutely. So it all starts with awareness of how you get to create those habits of self-care. And one thing that I'll point out is the 70-20-10 blended learning model. So 70-20-10, that was developed by the Center for Creative Leadership. And they were talking about what it takes for you to develop a new skill, to develop new habits. And self-care habits is what we're trying to develop so that we preserve our health. And the 70 is that 70% of creating a new habit and becoming good at something comes from learning from experience, 20% comes from learning from others, and 10% comes from formal learning. So whenever we're looking at that self-care and taking care of our health, number one, the biggest chunk of that 70-20-10 is the experience part. So we need to try and practice it. We can do research all day and pull up long lists of how to take care of ourselves, but none of that matters if we don't choose some of them and then try them. When we choose some of those things, like exercising more or getting 8 hours of sleep or doing yoga or spending the first 15 minutes of your day outside or near a window and have the window open so that you get some nature in your life. If we don't try those things to see what works and what doesn't, then we're never going to know how to preserve our health. And then the 20% is learning from others. So you can ask other people what they do. You can see somebody or find somebody that you think is very mentally tough, or somebody that is just physically fit, or somebody that seems to be at ease with everything. Those are the spiritually fit people, the people that are comfortable with everything in the universe because they have an understanding for themselves that works for them. Ask those people what they do, and they'll tell you, and then you can try that. And then that last 10% is formal learning, which is going online. You can search, you can read books, you can find any type of literature or videos that talks about the things that you want to improve in your life, and then you can learn from them. So I think you were asking for a specific tip of what they can implement, but I think it's better for me to show them how they can start implementing things instead of giving them a few tips that might not work for them.
So it's all about the experience then, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. And I like how you broke that down for us, because 70%, like you say, is the experience. And so we got to get out there and we got to try different things and see what works.
Absolutely.
Here's my next question. Can you tell me what are some strategies for becoming an effective student leader?
Sure. Yeah. I kind of go back to that 70-20-10 of implementing things that you learn and just trying new things. But another thing that is very important that people say, which is find a mentor. And we hear a lot about being the CEO of your life. That phrase is out there, and it's meant to say that we need to take control of our life so that we guide it and we make all the decisions to get to where we want to be. But we also need mentors. And I heard this the other day from Joyce Miles. I was on a call with her talking to students, and she said we all need our own personal board of directors. Corporations have board of directors. Foundations have board of directors. They also have C-suite executives. They have CEOs, CFOs, COOs, all these smart and highly capable people that make decisions for the organization. But those people also need guidance. So they go to their board of directors to get them to where they want to be. And I think we all need that in our lives as well. It's important to have maybe one mentor or two mentors, but I think if we want to do it correctly, we want to do it the right way, we will have a board of directors. And we know now more than ever that we don't have to meet in person. for these board of directors meetings. We can have a Zoom, we can have a phone call, we can meet virtually. And if we have that board of directors where everybody is an expert in something that we want to be an expert in our lives when we grow up, and we can touch base with those people to ask those questions of, hey, I want to do this. What do I need to know? Where do I need to go? What pitfalls do I need to avoid? If we have that board of directors, and it's not that difficult, but if we have that board of directors, then we're going to reach our goals much, much faster.
I agree with you on that, Chris, and thank you so much for providing that input. I found a mentor maybe about a good 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I found it to be very helpful. And so at least I can say with having a mentor, it helps me make better decisions in terms of being an effective leader. And as you said, the CEO, yes, I am the CEO of my own business. It has really helped me. And I want to add to that, I don't think you're never too old to find a mentor as well. So it doesn't matter of age, what age you are. Finding a mentor can help you be an effective leader.
And can I piggyback on that too?
Absolutely.
Because on the other side, you're never too young to mentor other people.
Yes.
Because a lot of these juniors and seniors in college and even sophomores don't necessarily look at themselves as leaders. I've gotten the question a couple of times, how do you know that you're a leader? And this person was like the president of her club. She was involved in a bunch of things. And I had to pause there for a second because I wanted to say, are you kidding me? But she was serious. And if anybody has ever asked you for a piece of advice, you're a leader. That's one way that you know that you're a leader. And then also, leadership is not determined by a leadership role. It's determined by influence. Everybody is a leader. Someone is always looking up to you, even if they don't know it. You influence everybody that you're around. And so the same way you said, you're never too old to have a mentor, you're never too young to mentor other people. And I think if we understand that more often and we realize that and we can accept that, then we'll start acting like leaders, because we kind of know what that is.
Yes. And I thank you. That's why I'm so appreciative of this discussion that we're having today, because it's about changing the narrative as we know it. And I think that is a great point that you made, that you're never too young, because that's true. That's true. And so it's about time for us to change the narrative on what we think like a leader look like. For instance, I want to use this example because I want to just give personal examples. Leaders to me in the workforce, as I saw it, especially when I was young in the workforce, was always someone older. But that's not necessarily true because you can lead at different age ranges, just like you said, but you can be a younger person and leading too.
Sure.
And I think that's just a perception in some of our cases. Of course, depends on your generation that you come from, that you think of leaders different. But I'm so glad that you defined that, and I think this is an important conversation to have, and I'm glad that you on a podcast having this. So thank you for your advice.
if I can also add one more thing, because it just popped into my mind and I don't want to forget it. To become a better leader, 10% is that formal learning. But when you're doing the 70%, when you're trying things and you're gaining experience through your actions, it's important to try things that other leaders have already tried and to learn from people that have already made your mistakes. And for me, that a big way of that is reading books. And so I have a book, obviously, that is specifically for student leaders, but I didn't bring it up just to say, hey, I have a book. You guys should check it out. We all don't respond to the same people. We don't respond to the same way we all have different favorite movies. We have different favorite TV shows. This book, my book, might not be for you. It might not speak to you. For me, Simon Sinek speaks to me. Jocko Willink speaks to me. Gary Vaynerchuk, they speak to me. I've read other leadership books that a lot of other people rave about, and I've read it, and it just fell flat for me. It didn't work. So in order to become better student leaders, I think we need to test the waters, go out there and find some videos, find podcasts, maybe read the beginning of a book, because on Amazon, you could read the beginning of a book for free. And you'll very quickly see if this author speaks to me or not. And then when you find those authors that speak to you, just dig in. Go and read all their content, read all their articles, read their blogs, connect with them if you can. And I think that's a great way to learn leadership.
I agree. Side note, I like Gary.
Yes. He tells it like it is.
So we're in a pandemic. Any suggestions on how student leaders can stay focused, and students in general? How do you stay focused with everything that's happening in the pandemic in our day-to-day personal lives, and something we're in school, we're in college? How do you stay focused?
Absolutely. And I think this is important for everybody right now, because we're in unprecedented times.
Yes.
This is not something that we're used to. You and I didn't grow up like this at all. And so what's important to me for the listeners to understand is more of a mindset. I don't think there are any quick tips, top 3 tips that works for everybody, but understanding and knowing what your North Star is, and then always following that. So for me, the North Star for the past year and a half has been, I have a daughter now. What type of man do I want to see my daughter, me become? And I could say that in a different way. When my daughter grows up and her idea of a man is based off of me, what do I need to do to ensure that she has a healthy understanding of what that type of person should be? So what role model am I being? What type of example am I setting for my daughter? That is my North Star. And that bleeds into everything. That bleeds into me ensuring that I'm eating right, I'm exercising well, that I'm spiritually where I want to be, that I'm comfortable, and then also professionally. Am I following my dreams? That's what I would want my daughter to do. Am I following my passions? Am I doing the things that I say I'm going to do? That's what I want her to do. And so for college students, many of you don't have children. So I would say the end goal, you need to keep that end goal in mind. Live in the present, but have that end goal in mind. What is it that you want? Do you just want a degree so that you can have a job so that you can do other things outside of that job? Do you want to try to find your passion? What exactly is the reason for you being on campus? Why are you taking these leadership roles? Are you taking a leadership role in a student organization because you're interested in the student organization, because you want to further them? Because if you do, you're probably in it for the right reason. Are you in a leadership role because you want to improve everybody around you? That's another good reason. Are you in that leadership role just to put it on your resume? That's not a great reason, but once you get to that leadership role, you can ensure that you're doing good things, even though you're just looking to have that on your resume so that you can get the internship or the job that you want. So having that North Star, and that North Star changes. Like I said, before a year and a half ago, obviously I didn't have a daughter to say that this was my North Star, and that changes throughout life. So for the students that are listening, I would say have an honest conversation with yourself about what's important to you. What's your North Star? And if you have 2, what are 2 of them? And that's important because if we can't have honest conversations with ourselves, how can we have honest conversations with other people? And that's what leadership is, having those honest conversations.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
And can you tell us some of the benefits of self-care? Because I like the definition that you gave earlier, but there are some benefits to self-care. And as I was doing my research, I was just blown away. So I don't want everybody to assume. I want you to give us some benefits of self-care.
Yes. And so there are 2 things I want to hit on. One of them is when you're on an airplane and they're going through the motions of telling you this is how your seatbelt works and this is what happens when this happens, they'll say that in the case of an emergency, the air oxygen bags will come down in front of you. And then they'll tell you that you need to ensure that you have your mask on before you can help anybody else.
Yes.
That is why self-care is important for leaders. You cannot help other people if you can't help yourself first. You need to take care of yourself and focus on your self-care so that your mental health, your physical health, and your spiritual health is all where it needs to be. before you can help other people. Because if you don't, you're going to be that toxic person that nobody likes to be around. And you're going to be the person that people think about whenever I say, have you ever had a horrible boss in your life? They're going to raise their hand because of you. And it doesn't matter how many books you've read. It doesn't matter how good you think you are at leadership. If you're not taking care of yourself, then you cannot take care of other people. And so that's the first thing that I want to touch on. And then the second one maybe is a better way to convince the listener that self-care is important. So we talked about entrepreneurs a little bit. I don't remember if this was at the beginning of the podcast or before we started recording, but all good entrepreneurs and good business people know that vitamins sell better than painkillers. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
That's a new saying. Thank you.
Okay. No, yeah. So vitamins sell better than painkillers. And what that means is, or no, I said it the other way around. You can strike that from the record. Painkillers sell better than vitamins.
Okay.
And that's because in our society, we will wait until something starts hurting us and try to fix it instead of taking care of that problem before it even becomes a problem. Mm-hmm. And that's why another way of saying that is follow the pain. That's another thing that a lot of business people and entrepreneurs will say. Are you following the pain? Are you solving a problem that your client or your customer currently has? Because if not, then they're probably going to pass it up because we only care about what's hurting us right now. And I say that because there are people that live their entire lives with pestering health problems, pestering mental problems, and they live it with their entire lives without even taking care of it ever. We cannot be the best versions of ourselves, and we cannot be the best leaders if we have all of these nagging issues pulling us down when we're trying to rise ourselves up and we're trying to elevate other people. So those will be the two reasons why I think it's really important to focus on self-care. And I thank you for asking that because a lot of people will ask, what's the connection from self-care to leadership, from self-care to student leadership? And those are the best ways that I've been able to articulate it so far. I hope that makes sense.
It does. And it was very helpful. So thank you for that. In terms of self-care, staying on the subject of self-care, I was doing some research again. This was, I know I said it, but I keep saying it. I'm just so glad that you're here. I learned a lot on this subject. And I learned that I was practicing self-care in some issues, in some cases, I say. But it's not a lot involved, but it's best to do this so you can take care of yourself. But also I learned that there were some myths to self-care. So I wanted you to talk about that because as I was doing my research, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to get it together here.
Yeah, and I think
transparent, might I add? I'm transparent. I want my listeners to know that I'm transparent. And yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but I have self-care issues too. So
yep.
Take it away, Chris.
Yep. And so, no, thank you for that. I like you setting it up that way because you can search definitions of wellness, definitions of self-care, and you'll find the 5 dimensions of this, or the 8 aspects of wellness, or the 12 versions of whatever. And they'll list all these things that you need to focus on for self-care. There's no way that we could be absolutely fit at all of them at every single moment in every single time, at every single day. And so I think it's important to understand that a myth might be that I need to get to a point where I am perfect at all of these things. For the Marine Corps, that Marine Corps formula is physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. And they say mentally fit, physically fit, and spiritually fit. And I think recently they just put socially fit in there. Another leading organization talks about the 8 dimensions of self-care, or the 8 dimensions of wellness. We cannot be good at all of them at the exact same time. And so that is a myth that we need to break down. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to see a therapist the exact same way it's okay to go to the doctor if you have a cough. And mental health, spiritual health is the exact same as physical health. If we exercise and we stretch and we take care of our body takes care of us. And we have to see the doctor less. We have to see the chiropractor less. That's physical health. We all understand that because sports is a big part of our society. So we understand physical health. Mental health is the exact same way. If we take steps to take care of our mental health all of the time, then our mental health is going to take care of us. This is the exact same with spiritual health. And I'd like to give the example that I heard about motivation. Because I can apply it here as well. Motivation is kind of like taking a shower. You can't just do it once and expect you to feel great for the entire month. You have to do it every single day. And I think more people need that message about showers, if I'm being honest. But the exact same thing goes with physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. That's something that we need to work on every single day and make slow, little steps of progress. And the next thing that I would say, especially knowing that a lot of the listeners are students, the thought that I'm young and I'm resilient, so I don't need to care about these things right now, that is a myth. I'm young, I'm resilient, I don't have to worry about any type of health stuff because young people are healthy. I wish that was not a thing in our society. Young people are healthy. I mean, you can bounce back from things a lot quicker. Like I remember jumping off of a playground equipment as like an 8-year-old. I'd hurt my leg and then I'd just be running off right after that. Now, if I jump off of that, I'm going to be down for a while. I'm going to be down for a couple hours. But the ability to bounce back is not the same as creating bad habits for yourself. If we're unhealthy now and we're unhealthy in our early 20s, in our late teens, when we're in college, we're going to start creating habits that we're going to take into adulthood. And whenever we start creating those habits with nutrition, for example, you can't turn back from having diabetes. Once you have a stroke, there are things that happen to your body that you are uncontrolled or that you don't have control over. There are certain things with just nutrition, which is a small facet of physical health, that if you don't take care at a young age, it will affect you for the rest of your life. So the young people are resilient, young people are healthy. That is a myth that I would like to just blow up and rid from our entire society. Hopefully those two myths make sense.
And again, I appreciate you saying that because, again, it's about changing the narrative. It's about changing the narrative on what we think in society because it just don't apply. One shoe doesn't fit all, as they used to say when I was growing up. And we can apply it in this situation as well. Any resources that you would like to provide for our students and student leaders? Any resources that you can provide to them?
Absolutely. So number one, I would say go online, go on YouTube, go on Amazon. We all know what those websites are. And start looking for two things. Start looking for self-care tips and start looking for leadership tips because we are leadership illiterate in our society. That is why so many people have horrible bosses. All of our bosses can read and write and do basic math because our education system has caught up to times. Like everybody can do that. That's great. Everybody can't be a good boss nowadays and can't do the simple things like running an effective meeting or doing performance evaluations and telling you what you're good at and helping you get better. So that would be a piece of advice is just go out and start searching for those things because right now in our society, the reality is that academia doesn't do that for us. So we have to go and do that for ourselves. And the other thing that I would say is that, focusing on nutrition, that is so important. And that's something that I've realized even more being a parent. Because I focus on nutrition and sleep for my little toddler right now, because both of those things help develop your brain. And they're so effective and important in your brain development. And your brain development, that also affects your body. So for your nutrition, eatright.org. So EATRIGHT.org. That's a great resource. And another one is myplate.gov. Choosemyplate.gov. So that's CHOOSMYPLATE.gov. ate.gov. And please don't fall in the trap of, I've been eating my entire life. Who's going to tell me about eating? I know about eating. That's not the case. I mean, we're all, you ask any professional, how many people in their industry that are considered professionals don't know what they're doing? And they will say 5%, 10%, 50% don't know what they're doing. And those are professionals. Those are people that went to school for whatever they're doing. They've had training. If you haven't had training on nutrition or dietetics or dietitian type work, you don't know what you're talking about. The professionals do. Go find an RDN, a registered dietitian nutritionalist, or I think I said that right, an RDN, and they will tell you about nutrition, and they know what they're talking about. So let's try and trust the professionals and go to those websites and just take their advice. And then for sleep, there are a lot of websites. I didn't write any down, but you can just look for sleep experts and basic understanding of not just how much sleep you can get, because I think that's generally what we go towards, but all of the other effects on how to get quality sleep. Because just 8 hours, that's not the cure for everything. Having a quality 8 hours of sleep is important for your brain. So those would be the resources that I give.
That's awesome. I'm going to research that myself. To my listeners, choosemyplate.gov. I actually I receive daily emails from them, and that is an excellent resource. So please do what Chris say, and for nutrition, because there's an excellent resource. It's real easy to read and understand and follow along. So thank you for sharing that.
And I've also, some of my mentors, because I still have mentors myself, tell me that I do need to do a better job of self-promoting, because I just forgot my podcast. So I have a podcast that's called Professional by Choice Podcast that you can find anywhere anywhere you can find podcasts. And I talk about how to become a better professional, how to become a better version of yourself. And I interview people the same way you are doing right now. And I try to give listeners takeaways. And most recently, I have been interviewing juniors and seniors that have had leadership positions on campus, and they are giving advice to freshmen and sophomores. So if you are a student and you're looking for advice from people who are actually doing it, because people like you and I, we give advice to students all the time.
Yes.
But it's been a little while since we were there, right? And so sometimes I think the same things that we are saying comes better from the people that are actually doing it. So I decided to give them a platform, and I've had 2 episodes so far. I have one recorded that I need to edit that's going to be coming out, and I plan to do this going forward in the future. And it's a student-to-student leadership series. And I hope it's helpful for the listeners.
Yes, repeat that one more time so the listeners can know, so they can.
Absolutely. It is the Professional by Choice podcast.
Awesome. And then here's my last question. We're about 6 months into the pandemic. Any motivational tips you would like to share with students and student leaders and families?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Specifically for the students, and also for professionals who maybe are going through a time of unemployment. And they're worried about the future. Find what you can do. Don't worry about the things that you cannot do. Worry about the things that you can do and execute on those things. For students on campus, it is joining student organizations. It's finding internships. It's all of those things that you use to create your resume. That's going to be your resume. It's going to be on LinkedIn. And realize this: you are literally writing your interview answers right now. That is what you're doing, because the interviewers are going to ask you, tell me about a time where you had to work virtually and you had to overcome these problems. You had to do this. You had to do that. You are doing it right now. And if you think about it that way and you know what you want to say in your interview, start doing that. Because that's just going to help you, 1, with your current situation, and 2, it's going to help you in the future, because you get to say, I had to deal with virtually leading a student organization that was virtual for this first semester ever. It used to be physical, and these are the hurdles that I had to overcome, and these are the results. And having that mindset, I think that we can shift away from thinking, this is horrible, this is bad, I'm anxious about what the future is going to have. Release all of that. You don't control it. What you do control is what you're doing right now. And what you're doing right now will be your interview answers, and it will be your resume later. So hopefully that makes sense too.
It does. And I'd like to add to that because, Chris, you said something that was key here. I tell students, too, what I'm seeing now as a scholarship, as I'm reviewing scholarships and looking for scholarships for families, some of the scholarship providers are already asking, tell us, how are you surviving COVID-19? What are you doing? And I'm telling students, keep a journal. Keep a journal if you can of how this is impacting you, what are you doing, because scholarship providers are starting to ask these questions on the scholarship essays. So that kind of goes hand in hand on what you said, because those will be questions.
And if I can give a quick tip that I've been giving, because I still work with students all the time, and I've been looking over some of their mock interview answers. Yeah. It's very hard for students to think in this way, but ensure that you are quantifying everything that you're doing. There are some people that have internships that deal with marketing, deals with engagement, deals with reaching out to people, finding people. Those are all very easily quantifiable. How many people were you tasked to reach out to? How many did you reach out to? How many responded? And have those percentages, because you know as well as I do, whether it's resumes, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's writing a paper for a scholarship, the more professional you can sound, the better you're going to come off. And people's eyes gravitate towards numbers. I increased by 20%. I increased engagement by 30%. That is a lot stronger than I got more people to look at the website. I reached out to people. That falls flat. That's weak. What's stronger is putting numbers behind your words. So while you're keeping that journal, I would say to the listeners, try to ensure that you are quantifying as much as possible, because sometimes you might not be able to get every single number correct. But as long as you're getting the correct ballpark, then you're doing the right thing.
Excellent tip. Thank you so much for sharing that. Before we go, Chris, can you give us your contact information so we can stay in touch with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So my email address, which is probably the easiest way to contact me, is chris@chris-molina.com. So that's CHRIS@CHRIS-MOLINA.com. And then the next easiest way is to find me on LinkedIn. That might be even easier, because it really depends on what app I click on first, email or LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Chris Molina. Look for a guy that looks like me, and then click connect. But the subtitle of my LinkedIn is like Marine Corps author, or Marine Corps veteran, author, speaker, father, husband. It has everything up there. So yeah, those are the two best ways to find me. And I can also give you the link so that you can share with your listeners if they're interested.
Yes, absolutely. I will take the links. Okay. Well, thank you again for taking the time to talk with me and my listeners.
Well, Teresa, can I say real quick? I want to applaud you for what you're doing. This is a selfless act that you're doing, this podcast. This is something that I can connect with so many people that are in our sphere, the people that are trying to positively affect students. Yes, we strive to get paid for what we do every single day for our students, but I think of people in our group the same way I think of the military, and I think you might appreciate this. We both have professions that nearly 100% of our efforts benefit somebody else. That is unique. I love those type of people. And so I just want to say thank you for everything that you do for your listeners and the students that you affect, because you are taking stress away from people, from families' lives, people that come to you looking for scholarships. You're able to help them. You're taking anxiety and stress away from their lives. And I think you're doing a great thing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so passionate, about what I do. And this is what I do. And I'm really passionate about it. And I love helping families. I love helping students. And so I am just grateful to be a vessel and to help families out. So thank you so much for your compliment. I don't take it lightly. I really appreciate it. Yeah. It means a lot to me. To my listeners, I want to thank you so much for joining us on today. Until next time, have a great week.